So let's look at Wi-Fi. Is Wi-Fi safe? We're assuming in Wi-Fi in government buildings, corporations, cafes, coffee shops, and even homes. So here's a list of organizations that ban or warn against wireless technology. We've got, let's go down to the bottom there. The UK Department of Education said that children under 16 should not use cell phones. 2002, 3,000 physicians in Germany recommend banning cell phone use by children and banning cell phones and cordless phones in preschool, schools, and hospitals. Let's go to 2005. Austrian Medical and Vienna Medical Association warn against Wi-Fi and cordless phones and cell phone use by children. The same in Frankfurt, Germany. They state that they will not install Wi-Fi in school in 2006 until it's been shown to be harmless. 2006, also in UK, they removed their wireless networks. 2007, Australia. The explosion in wireless communication technology is causing widespread illness, according to Australian Democrats. 2008, the International Commission on Electromagnetic Radiation, Electromagnetic Safety, recommends limiting cell phone use by children, teenagers, and pregnant women. 2008, we have Lakehead University in Ontario that bans Wi-Fi on campus. And then also 2008 in India, they banned cell phones in schools, both students and teachers. 2008 in France, National Library of France and Paris, France, they removed Wi-Fi from 4 public libraries because of health concerns. Same with Saint Genevieve University. 2008, Russian National Committee for Non-Ionizing Radiation warns that cell phones are unsafe even for short conversations. 2008, University of Pittsburgh Cancer Institute, children should never use a cell phone, except in an emergency. St. Clair, France, bans Wi-Fi in public schools in 2009. Continuing on, again in India in 2009, they banned cell phones in all schools and pre-university college. Moving to December 2010, we see French Parliament passes a law prohibiting advertising cell phones to children under 14. And then in 2011, Council of Europe passes a resolution recommending wired internet connections in schools. So you can use Ethernet instead of having the Wi-Fi routers, much safer. And they also talked about the creation of radiation-free zones to protect electrosensitive people. So certain people are more electrosensitive. 2011, also in August, the Israeli Ministry of Education publishes strict guidelines limiting the use of mobile phones in all school grounds, citing children's and youth's increased risk of malignant tumors. The Ontario English Catholic Teachers Association were citing safety concern, calling for a ban on new Wi-Fi installations in the province's 1,400 plus Catholic schools, and warning that computers in all new schools should be hardwired. 2012, the Austrian Medical Association releases guidelines for the diagnosis and treatment of health problems caused by exposure to EMFs. Again, Russia, 2012, Russian National Committee on Non-Ionizing Radiation Protection has officially recommended that Wi-Fi not be used in schools. Remember, they used to think that non-ionizing radiation was not a problem. Here we are in Russia in 2012 saying otherwise. And then in Israel, 2012, in August, Israeli Minister of Health, Rabbi Yaakov, states that he supports call to action for a ban on Wi-Fi in schools. Again, with India, 2013, Supreme Court holds a decision of the High Court of the state of Rajasthan to remove all cell towers from the vicinity of schools, colleges, hospitals, and playgrounds because of radiation, quote, hazardous to life. And coming towards the end now, this research, in August, the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario, representing 76,000 teachers, recommends that cell phones be turned off in classrooms, and that all Wi-Fi transmitters be labeled. And 2013 in Mumbai, India, adopted a policy prohibiting cell towers on colleges, schools, hospitals, orphanages, and juvenile correction homes, and so forth, prohibiting nearby antennas from being directed towards such buildings. It's very, very nasty and toxic. 2014, again, and this time in West Bengal, India, they ordered a cell tower removed because the radiation of the said tower is said to be dangerous to the life of human beings and also flora and fauna, causing severe imbalance to the environment. And finally, 2016 in April, just a year ago, Israel bans Wi-Fi in schools. Wi-Fi is ordered immediately removed from all kindergartens and schools in the city to protect the children from radiation. A wired internet system is being installed. So it's a very simple solution. Some of the symptoms that they found in schools is the kids had dizziness, racing heart, weakness, anxiety, feeling faint, difficulty concentrating. Some of them were getting headaches. They were getting nauseous, and the parents were complaining and wondering what was going on with their kids, because they introduced Wi-Fi routers, and depending on the proximity, it can be really nasty on the nervous system. Here's some more shocking facts about Wi-Fi health dangers. It stimulates insomnia, disrupts fetal development, impacts cellular growth, reduces brain activity, more so in females than in males, but certainly both genders, neutralizes sperm count, impacts fertility, provokes cardiac stress, and may cause cancer. It looks like pretty much does cause cancer tumors, according to a lot of the research that's out there. So there were these 4 Swedish girls in high school that did this very innovative experiment. They had these watercress seeds. They decided to look at the indirect impacts of Wi-Fi. So they had 2 rooms growing seeds for a couple of weeks. And in the room with the Wi-Fi versus the room without the Wi-Fi, you can see the difference there. Obviously, the one on the left is the room that had no Wi-Fi signals. The watercress seeds on the right were in the room with the Wi-Fi signal. So they basically didn't grow. It killed them, destroyed the life force energy. So that's pretty compelling. What's it doing to human beings, to human DNA, to human nervous systems? So that was Wi-Fi, a little detour through Wi-Fi land. Now let's take a look at smart meters. Are smart meters safe? Well, in this little cartoon, you can see similar kinds of problems that you see with Wi-Fi problems: sleeping, fatigue, ringing in the ears, headaches, learning problems, heart problems, eye problems, leg cramps, balance problems. You see below there Mr. Smarty Pants and friends and their so-called side effects. So definitely an issue. I'm going to ask everybody here, I did a poll last time, but in order to save time, I'm not going to do a poll, but I will ask you in the comment section, do you have a smart meter? Yes or no? If you know that you have one, say yes. If you don't have one, say no. If you're not sure, say not sure. So I want to get a sense of everybody's response on that without doing an actual poll. So if you're not sure, go outside and look. You should see like a digital readout. There's another one. This is a GE meter, American company called PG&E. So they'll have a digital readout versus the old analog style meters that had this kind of this moving dial that went around and that sped up if you were using more electricity. And then meter people would have to come out and read those suckers. Now they don't have to if you have a smart meter. But here's a cartoon version of side effects. If you go on the internet, you will find there's certain websites that list literally thousands of negative testimonials of really challenging side effects that people are experiencing that they're attributing to having a smart meter installed in their house. So proximity is an issue. The other issue is that it's a pulsed radiation. It may be only a few minutes a day versus a whole day. Like per unit time, it's only maybe a few milliseconds that the pulse is on. But because it's a pulse, as we saw, it's not good for the biology. So if you want to find out where your smart meter is, if you don't know, and try to not stay in that part of the house as often, ideally you would want to see if you could get Hydro-Quebec or Hydro-Ontario to remove it. That won't be the easiest thing in the world. It's easier to refuse it before having it installed. But there are people who have been successful, and you need to get an electrician to install it, and you'd have to get a hold of the old style meters. Anyway, here's the side effects: sleep problems, insomnia, stress, anxiety, irritability, headaches, pressure in the head, ringing in the ears, ear pain, concentration, memory and learning problems, fatigue, physical illness, muscle issues, disorientation, dizziness, and balance problems. I'm noticing that more and more people are having benign positional vertigo or different types of vertigo or balance issues. Why is that increasing? Might it be from the installation of these smart meters throughout North America and also other countries and different continents? Might that be the case that's causing higher incidence of balance issues and dizziness? More side effects: eye problems, pressure in the eyes, heart issues, cardiac symptoms and heart palpitations, cramps in the leg or neuropathy, arthritis, body pain, stabbing pains. Have you ever got stabbing pains in your head and wondered where they were coming from? And just like these weird stabbing pains that you feel for a few minutes or maybe even hours. and then they come and go. Nausea, flu-like symptoms. We saw that also with the Wi-Fi in the schools. Sinus problems and nosebleeds can also be caused by these smart meters, as well as respiratory problems, asthma. I bet you know someone with asthma. Could that be your signals? Skin rashes and facial flushing, urinary problems, or endocrine or neuroendocrine disorders, thyroid problems with thyroid. There's the thyroid and parathyroid. It's involved with metabolism and growth and weight gain and diabetes and all sorts of things. So thyroid's a big issue. High blood pressure, hyperactivity, changes in children's behavior, seizures. Now, high blood pressure does tend to kind of rise with age unless you're doing something to combat it. Now, if you add age to this EMF recipe, especially with smart meters, then it's not a surprise that more people are having a lot of hypertension or blood pressure issues these days. So let's take a look at smart meter radiation compared to other types of signals. So we looked at cells, cell phones, and Wi-Fi. So these are adverse health effects that occur at very low levels based on peer-reviewed studies. And it turns out that smart meters emit wireless radiation pulses that peak at much higher levels, okay? So we can see on the left that you have 0.5 milliwatts per meter squared. That's from the cell tower. That can cause headaches, disrupted sleep. Next over, 0.6 milliwatts per meter squared, Wi-Fi exposure actually alters brain function. So at that very low level, it starts to alter brain function. 5 milliwatts per meter squared, laptop Wi-Fi damages sperm motility, and DNA. Moving over to the right, cordless phones at 30 milliwatts per meter squared starts to disrupt cardiac function or heart health. Then moving up to the next one, this is the standards for the Russian and Chinese. They have 100 milliwatts per meter squared. Now, what's the actual smart meter? Well, in this measurement modality, we've got 400 milliwatts per meter squared. That's what the smart meters emit. What is the safety standards in US and Canada, according to, Health Canada and FDA and so forth? Well, their safety limits are at 6,000 to 10,000 milliwatts per meter squared. In other words, they say anything below that is fine. But we see that the smart meter is much below that at 400. And much below that is where we start to see all these damages like DNA, sperm motility, cardiac, brain, and so forth. And I'm going to plug in this little video here because this one's really compelling.
The data we're going to look at are all published science, testing results, or public standards. At the bottom end of the radiation scale of what's called power density, or signal strength, is the minimum level at which cell phones will work, which was found to be 0.2 billionths of a microwatt per centimeter squared. Pine needles were found to age prematurely at 0.000027. At short-term exposures of 0.5, children aged 8 to 17 experienced headache, irritation, concentration difficulties, and behavioral problems. Point 1 is the biobiology or building biology guideline for extreme concern. 1.0 produced sperm DNA fragmentation and a decrease in sperm viability in vitro. Also at 1.0, the science shows the following bodily effects can occur: headaches, dizziness, fatigue, insomnia, chest pain, difficulty breathing, and indigestion. 2.5 saw altered calcium metabolism in heart muscle cells. 4.0, changes in the hippocampus affecting brain memory and learning. And at 6.0, DNA damage in cells. So, where are smart meters on this list? Electrical Power Institute in December 2010 measured a single Itron smart meter with pulses up to 7.93 microwatts per centimeter squared. Our own testing indicated approximately 8.0 with 1 meter. These tests are at a close distance, approximately 1 foot away from the meter, but an infant's crib could be just as close on the other side of the wall where the meter or bank of meters are installed. Even though there are all these known health effects at levels far lower, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, and Luxembourg see fit to set the standard at 9.5. And China, Poland, and Russia, 10.0. This is the same level at which behavior has been altered, producing reflexes of avoidance following 30-minute exposures. A room of 12 smart meters, very common and even a conservative number in an apartment building, tested at 19.8 microwatts per centimeter squared. This is hundreds of times higher than levels which clearly indicate harmful effects. So how can utilities and governments get away with forcing these devices on everyone? This is how. In Canada and the US and several other civilized countries, the safety limit is set at 600 to 1,000 microwatts per centimeter squared. This so-called safety limit is literally tens of thousands of times higher than levels which are known to damage health, according to peer-reviewed published science.
So I just thought you might want to see that video. What they do is they set the standards ridiculously high, thousands of times higher than where damage actually begins, according to peer-reviewed studies. Now, what's going on here? Well, we see the non-industry studies on the left versus the industry studies on the right. Non-industry studies will have found that 70% of those studies show a harmful effect versus 30%. Versus industry studies, it's flipped around. They say, oh no, only 32% of the studies where they found a harmful effect and 68% no effect. So there's obviously a bias, there's obviously a conflict of interest because the industry studies are basically corporations, they're there to make money. The non-industry are more like academic, more just trying to do the peer-reviewed research. So what I want to do now is actually look at some EMF protection practices. So this is the practice part of the presentation. So pay attention to this. We're going to be talking about 3 different categories of protection that I've categorized myself. I just looked at the research and said, okay, we can sort of categorize into 3 different varieties of protecting yourself from EMF radiation. In the first instance, we're talking about basically avoidance or removal. So for instance, reducing exposure to specific devices like laptops and cell phones, removing actual devices or certain types of lighting systems or DECT-style cordless phones, and then just turning things off when not in use. Then we have the second category, which is basically shielding or neutralizing these energies. So you've got things called EMF balancers. We've got a guy in Ottawa that sells these things and balances out people's environments and schools and homes. There's certain types of crystals that are naturally shielding and grounding. You've got the pendants for the cell phones. And then I'm going to be looking at filters for dirty electricity in your home, as well as a substance called shungite, which is very special. Then the third category of protection is basically detoxing or recharging or grounding. So you have iodine you can take. You've got cleansing salt baths. You can do something called earthing. You can be in nature more often, or you can do antioxidant protection through nutrition.